Okay, this is part 2 of my little series on my 72-inch belt grinder. A couple people have asked me about how I ended up making this tracking mechanism work. So I thought I'd just make a brief video on how this thing works actually. If you can see, I made 3 marks here on this little part that comes out. This is with the spring uncompressed. Here is where when I have a belt on and it's compressed, and then this is when I put completely the full force and completely compress the spring, and that gives me maximum tension. If you pull this out, I can reach in there with a tiny little piece of wire. I can hook onto the spring. It's hardware springs that I got at a local hardware store. I think they're 1 inch in diameter. You can go bigger because the diameter here certainly allows for that. But they're about 2 inches, and I just tacked them really gently together with a TIG welder, and that's what made the spring. They came 2 per package, so I thought I'd just go ahead and use the extended range to do that. Just drop that in there. You can see the bottom of this piece of square tubing has got a piece welded on the bottom of it, so the spring will ride in there. And that's it. That's all that goes on there. One other little feature is this particular piece has to fit pretty tight in here, because if you want repeatability on the adjustment, this needs to have a lot of tightness to it, or at least be a snug fit. These tubing pieces aren't exactly machine fit, obviously. So what I did is I made a little spacer in here. If you look inside, I took this spacer, and what it is, it's a piece of blue plastic. You can see it right in here. It's just glued on here, and it's very slick. And what that is, it's a piece of plastic from a quart oil bottle that I had left over from when I changed the oil in the car the last time. The walls of the bottle have a lot of different thicknesses on there, so I was able to cut a piece that was perfect thickness to be able to take up the play in my little adjusting mechanism. And there, it fits pretty tight, not a whole lot of play. As far as the pulley goes, you can see there's a little bit of a crown to it, and I did that by taking this wheel that I made and putting a couple washers on each side and capturing it with a bolt and making it nice and tight. And then I took it over to my drill press, chucked it up in my drill press, and then used a file and aluminum oxide belts, and actually just sat there and worked on it till I got a crown on it. It'd be nice to have a little bit more of a crown, but actually that's pretty sufficient right there. As far as the tracking mechanism goes, you can see I've got a little T-bolt here, and what that does is that, if you can see when I turn it, that little top part, this pivots on this bolt. Now to look underneath, what's going on in here is that's the inside of that. And all that is just the threaded portion of this top bolt that I have here. And there's just a little nut welded on here, and that's it. And then this nut here, if you look at it, it's a carriage bolt, a short one, that rides on here, and I have that hole augered out a little bit bigger on purpose so the top of that little carriage bolt will fit on there. And also, if you look down here, it's got quite of a slope of a cut right there, and that allows this to pivot. I don't know if you need that much range of motion, but I think to make it work completely you needed that. The other thing too, if you notice, I had to do something else. I had to offset this hole here. I had to offset that so this would pivot and actually have a range of motion. You can't stick it in the middle and have it operate correctly, because then this sticks out too far, this whole operation. So I had to set it back a little bit, or I'm sorry, sorry about my hand. I had it set it back a little bit, so this whole thing has a little chance to set back just a little bit further up against here. And I just used a chunk of tubing from here and made that happen up there. So that's it. Pretty easy, and it works pretty well.